Hey, how's everyone doing? This week we're going to be talking about charcuterie. What is charcuterie? Some of you might have heard of it already. Some of you may not have. But to me, it is an art and also a science. So it's the preparation of meat products that can be made into sausages, galantines, terrines, ballantines, cured, smoked, hams, all those things. So it's an art in the fact that you can have so many different presentations and preparations. And it's a science in the terms of it. You have to control microorganisms and moisture, and you can get a whole lot of different flavors um, through smoking and all kinds of preservation techniques. So this should be fun, and hopefully you guys like sausages. If not, um, what can I say? Hopefully, you've already completed the chapter work for the charcuterie by the time that you see this video and use this for your notes. I want you to be able to learn about force meats, how they're prepared, pâtés, terrines, and sausages, of course. Like, unless you're vegetarian, who doesn't like sausages? I mean, there's a plethora of different sausages that can be made, and um, the most popular probably could be what, Italian sausage. Um, you can use it for a lot of different Italian ingredients, but then there's smoked sausages, dried sausages, and um, chorizo. There's linguiça and andouille. There's the new different types of sausages that are using chicken in there and different fruits also. So there's an endless way to make sausages. So that's my favorite part of charcuterie. Also, we're going to be talking about aspic jelly, brining, curing, smoking, meats and fish, curing products like prosciutto, right? Parma ham, country ham, and then preparing and using the sauce chafroy. And um, yeah, pronouncing that is a whole different story. So we'll figure that out, right? Force meat. So force meat is a preparation made from uncooked meats, poultry, fish, shellfish. It's seasoned and emulsified with fats. You need the proper emulsification for the sausage or whatever preparation of the force meat you're using to cook properly and have a good texture. Okay, you can use them in pâtés, terrines, galantines, which we'll be talking about, sausages, right? And the textures can vary depending on your grinds, right? To either smooth or velvety, smooth like a or even like a little chunky if you want to have like a thick grind. So um, force meats, that's the base of all these different products that we're going to make. The fat emulsification that I was talking about in the last slide is to ensure um, that the ratio of fat and ingredient must be precise to get that, right? You have to have cold temperatures so you can have the proper emulsification, and the ingredients must be also mixed properly. Okay. When you're making your force meat, you do need certain equipment to be able to do it. So, food grinder is very helpful. Food processors, when you're making those smooth force meats. A drum sieve, sometimes you'll be pushing your product through a sieve to get any um, chunks out if you want it even smoother, right? And the standard meat grinders with all the different parts. So you want to make sure you know the different parts of a food grinder. You'll have the die, the worm, uh, the blade, the hopper, the pusher. You need to know all these terms. So make yourself familiar with them. There's a picture in the book, and it all has the different parts labeled. In class, when we're in labs and you have to use that, I usually give you a demo that, and I can show you and I tell you what the parts are. If you already know that, that makes it a lot easier, and we can focus on fine tuning um, what the product that you're making instead of having to try to learn what the parts are. So make sure you familiarize yourself with the parts of a food grinder and a food processor. Your equipment is very important in the kitchen, and these are vital components to making charcuterie. Ingredients in your force meats will be starting off with the meat. It would be the dominant flavor. So if you're doing pork sausages or chicken sausages or beef sausages, those will be your dominant meat, right? Then you add fat. The fat is needed there for moisture and richness. Have you ever cooked your sausage and so you're grilling it, and then you could see you poke it with a little fork, and then this juice just starts running out. A lot of that is also fat that helps keep the moisture and the flavor for your tongue in your mouth there. Without it, it would just be all the actual liquid moisture would just steam off and you get this dry mess. So you need to have both. You need to have the moisture and the fat. Okay. The binders, there's different binders that you use. A panada is like a starch of some sort that goes in there to help bind it. So most time it's a bread, but it could be rice and other things like that. And then also eggs can be used, right, to bind your ingredients together. Other ingredients that you need to use in your force meats are seasoning. So salt, right? You want to make it taste good. Your mouth tastes the salt. It lifts all the flavors up, right, for your mouth. Curing salt, which I'll be talking a little bit more about later. Marinades, various herbs and spices. Italian sausage uses fennel seed, right? Chorizo uses like hot chili, chili powders and things like that. Um, so you want to make sure you're getting those extra flavors in there to taste it. And you can control it. If you're making your own sausages, you can control the flavors by the amount of salt, the amount of seasonings, the different kinds of seasonings that you put in there. And then there's also garnishes. So when you think about garnishes, you're like, wait, is that what you put on top of it? No. These garnishes are put inside, but they're not necessarily ground into the force meat. So, for example, if you were going to be making a mortadella from scratch, you would get a pretty smooth grind on your meat products, and then you would add your seasonings and everything and fat, right? Mix it all. And then before you put it into your casings to do whatever you're going to either smoke it or cure it or hang it to dry, you would add pistachios. So in this case, the pistachios would be the garnish. We like to use mortadella a lot for the muffaletta sandwich. If you've ever heard of that, it's a Cajun sandwich, and which is interesting because it has a French influence, but the mortadella is an Italian deli um, meat. So go figure, right? Uh, pretty interesting stuff. So just think about it. There's other garnishes that you can use here. You can use diced fat in there. You could put truffles or diced ham, tongue, depending on it. A good thing that has a lot of garnishes is that head cheese. If you've ever heard of head cheese, if you haven't, look it up. It's pretty interesting. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but it is good, and you can really enjoy different things when you get to try that. Okay, so now we're talking about the special seasonings, and this includes curing salt, or we call it pink salt. In French, they call it sel rose. Um, it controls the spoilage and the bacteria in your meats, and it preserves the pink color there too. So if you ever um, made corned beef, you get a brisket, and if you just put it in the seasonings and brine without the curing salt, then it just kind of will get this gray color. Won't really, but when you use the curing salt, we also call it prog powder, then you will get this nice reddish pink color out of your corned beef. So you can do it either way. The most prominent popular way is with the curing salt, and you get that nice red color. With pastrami, the same thing. So we use that for a lot of for curing things because it can control the bacterial growth. Okay. Then there's the pate spice, is a mixture of herbs that can be pre-mixed and used as needed. When you're preparing your force meats, you need to control the temperature for safety, right? So we're talking about keeping everything cold here, like your meats. You can even pre-chill your seasonings. Your equipment, we like to pre-chill the food grinder to keep it cold. You can even work in a cold environment. When I was in culinary school, there was the butchery class was in a refrigerated room. So try taking a nap in there. You'll be awake in the class, right? Because it's so cold. Um, but that way you can work with less chance of having bacteria grow quickly because the room that you're working in is colder than usual. So common force meat preparations, they have what we call the country style. It's easier to prepare. It has a lot of seasoning. It's not as refined as some other preparations. Then there's the basic, right? It's smoother, more refined, um, can be used in a lot of different ways. And then there's the mousseline, which is light, airy, delicately flavored. And those are that use the mousseline can be used to make quenelles, which are little small dumpling shapes. The picture in the bottom left is a quenelle. So you take the spoons, 2 spoons, and you kind of make that shape. We use that in desserts. We use it for entrees. We use it for a lot of different preparations. So quenelle is a term that you really need to know. And I think that it's very popular and it gives a great presentation. We even do it with mashed potatoes when we're plating entrees. Instead of getting that ice cream scoop or the portion controlled scoop and just scooping uh, a big scoop of mashed potatoes on there, and it looks like a cafeteria or whatever. You can make nice presentations, and a quenelle really does that for you. You learned what force meats are, kind of how to prepare them, what to put in them. Uh, what do you use them for? Okay, so we can use them for different things: from terrines, pâtés, galantines, and sausages. But wait, what's that? Right? So terrines are your force meats that are baked in an earthenware mold. Okay, pâtés or pâté and croûte are fine, savory meat wrapped and baked in a crust. Okay, so the pâté and croûte is baked in a crust. Pâté regular is not baked in a crust. Galantines are force meat wrapped in the skin of an animal and poached and served cold. Okay? These are like old world things that you can still find in some high end places and in France or even in some big cities. It's kind of a lost, dying art, but you can make some really beautiful things. So, but what's the difference between a ballantine and galantine? A ballantine is a force meat wrapped in the skin of chicken thighs and serve hot. Okay, so Ballantine is wrapped in chicken thighs, and galantines are wrapped in some sort of skin or something. We've made them before, just wrapped in plastic, right? And then you poach them, which would coagulate the proteins. And then when you cool it off, you take out the plastic, and then you slice it. And they're one on the top picture up there looks like that's a galantine, right? And then you have the one in the middle there is a terrine. So aspic jelly. This is used a lot for the nice sheen that you can get on your presentation of your galantines, ballantines, different charcuterie items, and for your platters. It is used a lot in food competitions because it gives it that nice presentation. It's made with strong stocks with increased gelatin. It could be um, from bones or it could be from just added gelatin in there. But you can follow the guidelines for the gelatin content that's required. And there's a picture of some stuff that is covered there with the aspic jelly. I myself have never really used it. It does do a good thing, but I've never been into the like food Olympic competitions that they do use that for. I've most of my career I have been a restaurant chef or either that or in school food service where we're serving lots of people, trying to make good food with nice presentation. So it's a little bit more artsy, which is fine. Some of you might enjoy that aspect of this, but you still need to know what this stuff is, what it's used for, because it's always good to learn, and you'll never stop learning in this industry. Here's a list of different types of terrines. So you have liver terrines, foie gras terrines, vegetable terrines, which were made with different vegetables. Bronze, an aspect terrines, mousse, rillette, and confit. Confit is usually a lot of times made with duck, but it really just means cooked in its own fat, right? And rillettes are made similar to that, right? So it's like fat and meat mixed together to kind of seal it, preserve it a little. And, you know, I made some really great dough confit before and made some fresh pappardelle pasta to put with it. It was really good. We did it in class, so you never know. Might get to make some of this stuff depending on how the menus come out for the semester. So this slide kind of is the same as the book, right? It just shows you procedure for preparing the terrines. So it goes from lining your mold, and the terrine molds are usually those long, thin pans like that, right? So, and then you can fill the terrine that has been lined with your force meat, right? And then your garnish of some sort. And then you can decorate it and then finish it and cook it into your water bath or however you're going to cook that. Slice it at the end and you get that nice presentation. It's a terrine is probably one of those things that if you can make a well, you can serve it, you can create great presentations out of it, and also make some money because you can charge a lot. Here's the procedure for preparing galantine. So remember the galantine is um, the force meat that's wrapped in some sort of skin of some sort, right? And then you make it into a cylindrical shape, and then you cook it from there. And afterwards, then you can cut it open and make nice slices and presentation for service. Ah, my favorite. So here we're talking about sausages, and there's so many sausages that we can make, right? So there's fresh sausages that have fresh ingredients. They haven't been smoked or cured at all. Then you have smoked and cooked sausages that have either been smoked or have been cooked already, made with raw meat products. They could have the sodium nitrate, right, the pink salt we were talking about. And there's dried and hard sausages made from cured meat and then air dried under controlled conditions. It could be smoked, could be cooked also. Like there's andouille sausages. Chorizo in Spain are cured. A lot of those aren't even cooked. Some of them are, but a lot of them are just like cured and then hung to dry, and then you can eat them just like that. Or you can even cook them from that state, depending on what you're going to do. I like to use that Spanish chorizo for making what they call a tortilla. And then in the Mexican kitchen, the tortilla, right, is like a flour or corn tortilla. But in Spain, a tortilla is like an omelet. So if you have a tortilla de papa, you have like a potato omelet. Or you can have a tortilla de chorizo, which is their cured sausages or cured chorizo that they have, and you cook it in with your omelet. It's really good. So think about those things. In making sausages, you're going to need the different force meats, right, with your characteristics, but you're also going to need some sort of casing, something that's going to hold the force meat in there so it holds its shape while it either has to be smoked, cured, cooked, or whatever. Unless you have something like chorizo, Mexican chorizo, where you just buy bulk, you just cook it out into the pan where you're not trying to hold a particular shape. Okay, so there's different kinds of casings. A lot of them are like hog, sheep, or cattle intestines. It could be manufactured from collagen and cattle hide for those collagen casings. Um, there's also caul fat. So there's a picture in the book. I want you to make sure that you write that in your notes. I want to see if you guys put caul fat in your notes because I want to see for whoever watches this video, see if you actually went through this whole thing and watched. So caul fat, make sure that you put that in your notes and tell me what caul fat is used for, okay? Put it, there's a little part in the book that talks about caul fat and what it's used for. There's a name of something. See if you can go look that up. Add that to your notes. I'm going to be looking for it in your notes when you return them in. All right, so when you're making sausages and you're going to be casing them, these are the procedure that you'll use. You're going to be sliding the casing over the nozzle of the sausage stuffer. That part gets put onto the end of your grinding attachment, okay? Then you have to knot the end and you have to pierce it lightly so there'll be air to go through, otherwise it'll explode. Okay. Then support it with one hand and then you could turn it on and then the meat starts filling up in the casing and go around. Then you got to twist the sausages and the length that you want to have. And you have made a nice sausage length. You could have them rolled around like that, or you could twist them and have individual sausages from there. Salt curing and brining. So when you're using salt for curing, you can use salt, sugar. You'll use the pink salt also. You can use herbs and spices. That's going to help you with flavor, but also controlling moisture. Salt and sugar pull out moisture from products. If you don't believe it and you want to do an experiment, get a piece of meat, put some salt on there, and then let it sit and watch. And then after a while, you'll see it get all this moisture start to pull out of it, okay? Um, Same thing, you can even see it with vegetables. If you get some eggplant or zucchini and put salt on it, you'll see the moisture start coming out. So it would be a good little experiment for you to try. Brining is similar to salt curing, except for the fact that it's in a liquid form. So we get this reverse osmosis process going on. So you're seasoning whatever you're brining, and then the picture in the bottom is a turkey, right? A lot of times we like to brine turkeys. It makes it really flavorful and moist. So there'll be moisture coming out of the turkey by the salt process, but then they'll be adding your seasoned moisture back into the turkey or whatever meat you're brining, um, and getting that moisture. So when you cook it, it's going to be extra juicy and moist. All right, so smoking. Now, I'm not talking about like smoking the terms of you might be thinking of, but we're talking here about smoking um, food, right? Meats and things that we use for our charcuterie. So what would you smoke? Look in the picture right there. You have some salmon. You could smoke salmon. You could smoke bacon. You could smoke ham. You could smoke any kind of meat, sausages. Gives that great smoky flavor, right? So cold smoking is that you're going to be exposing something that you might not cook, and you're going to be exposing the product to the smoke, so it has that. If you ever had bacon that's raw and uncooked, it's went through a cold smoking process, so it has a smoky flavor, but you still need to cook it before you eat it, right? And then there's hot smoking where it goes at higher temperatures and you're actually cooking the product at the same time that it gets the smoke. I have my own little smoker that I use here at my house. Sometimes we'll do some smoked stuff in the Renegade room, but it's really fun to play with because you can use different types of woods for different types of flavors that you'll get, with different seasonings and different meats, and you really get to play with the whole different array of stuff. So just think of you're an artist, right? And you have a palette of colors that you're using for a painting. Well, here in this process for smoking, you can choose your meats, you can choose your woods, you can choose your seasonings, and you can really make a whole lot of different stuff. You should try some smoking sometimes if you haven't tried yet and see what you come up with. Now there's also preserved meats in this category of charcuterie, okay? So bacon we talked about, but then there's like Canadian bacon, pancetta. That's the top picture there that you see. Pancetta is a bacon, but instead of being flat, they just take the pork belly that it's made out of and roll it up. It's not smoked, but it's seasoned nicely. I enjoy using pancetta in different recipes. We do it in the Renegade room sometimes. As Chef Suzanne also does that. So look out for some pancetta being in your bed. If you don't have pancetta, you can use bacon. A lot of the times bacon is smoked, so it brings a smoky flavor to you. So you just gotta decide whether you want to do that or not. So there's also preserved hams like prosciutto. I hope some of you are aware of if you've tried before. You want to cut that really thin, right? Prosciutto is a cured ham. So they um, use the salt and sugar and spices on it. They hang it to dry. It's an Italian product, right? Then there's Parma. There's jamon. There's a Spanish version of kind of like prosciutto. And then there's the Westphalian ham. Those are all cured hams, right? Then there's other cured meats like beef. So have you ever heard of Brazil? Brazil. That's a cured beef product. It's an Italian thing. Um, you hear a lot sometimes in those gangster movies, right? Where the guys are like, I want to go to Brazil. So you know what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of variety of different cured meat products. So look out for those and a lot of great applications that you can use it for. Gravlax is a cured salmon. So the salmon doesn't get cooked, as opposed to smoked salmon where it's cooked and has the smoked flavor in it. Gravlax is not cooked, it's just cured. So you mix the salt, sugar, and spices, and then you cover it and you put some weight on it, and then you wait till it gets all cured, and you take it out and you slice it really thin, and you can put it on your canapes, you can put it in different things. Great application. When I was in culinary school, we had to learn how to make a gravlax. Everybody got a chance to do it. It was pretty neat. There's some great ones out there. I worked with a good chef from the Playboy Mansion. His name was Chef Carter, William Bloxham Carter. He worked there for 30 years. He now owns and runs a bed and breakfast in San Luis Obispo. And he made this one of those pastrami. So it was like a pastrami salmon. It was a cured pastrami flavored salmon. And then you slice it really thin. So there's a lot of different flavors you can do. I've had a tequila one with like cilantro. So think about all those different things. Look at different ways that you can prepare. But the original gravlax is like they show here, and it's from the Norwegian area where it originated. We talked about the aspic jelly, and here is the procedure shown to you for glazing pate and aspic jelly. So you're going to have that, and you're going to be putting coats of it on top until you get this nice shiny topping surface on top of it. Sauce chafroy. Okay, so that's how I always said it. In the French, it's really chafroy. Chafroy. So the D is kind of silent in there. And anyway, so you can call it chafroy sauce or chafroy. You're going to say it right. I have never used this in my culinary career, but it doesn't mean that it's not something that you should learn, or at least learn about, be aware of it. It's a decorative coating used in presenting cold cooked foods. It's kind of like aspic, right? You should be firm when cold, and it's cream and gelatinized there, so it gives you that presentation like in the picture. So you decide if you want to play around with that, but just be aware of what it is, know how it's made, and you'll be able to learn. This slide just shows you the way to coat the fish with the Charcuterie sauce and how you will put it over a rack to let it kind of go down, and then it'll chill and firm up. So be, like I said, be familiar with the Charcuterie, and then also start finishing up your notes for this charcuterie. And then you're going to be doing 2 chapters this week, the last 2 chapters that we're doing for this semester. Woo! So it's going to be chapter 8, dairy. You're going to be doing that. And then you're going to be doing the chapter 21 on breakfast. So you need to do both of those in Pearson this coming week. And then I'll have a video presentation for you to do your notes, and then you're going to be getting ready for the final your portfolio. Your portfolio is going to need to be turned in online, so you're going to have to get that digitized somehow. I will accept it in a PDF form if you just want to scan everything that you have into one file, or you can put it all onto a Word file, a continuous one, and turn it in that way. So hopefully you guys are stuck through and watched this whole video to get this communication. And we're getting close to the end of the semester. I hope everybody's doing well, and contact me if you need anything. I'm here for you. I'm hoping that you are all still learning a lot. Hopefully, you'll be able to get back into the kitchen next semester, and this whole mess will hopefully come to an end. We can get back to, I guess, a new normal way of living that's similar to what we're used to. So, anyway, have a good one, and I will see you soon, I hope.